It is not yet time for slumber. We still have much work to do. My brother.
Today we'll be looking at the character Sorceress Adel from Final Fantasy VIII, from the other sorceress from Ultimate. What was Sorceress Adel ever human? Okay, first of all the other sorcerers has something that makes them unique and stuff like that. Like they all have yellow eyes and stuff like that. But why is Sorceress Adel's eyes are red with black irises? Well, today it's going to be explaining why and what happened. This is before Laguna sent Sorceress Adel to the moon, and because he couldn't stop her, so he sent her to the moon and sealed her up. This is way before that. We're going way before everything, before Laguna and everything. To start with, Sorceress Adel, I'd have to say, is practicing really dark, black, really super demonic dark, black magic. It's kind of like in Star Wars where you practice a bunch of the dark side. From Star Wars, you end up looking like ugly and demonic looking like, and it makes sense. It's like doing drugs. If you end up doing meth, you're going to look more demonic and more scarier than you were before. Even though to start with, Sorceress Adel's physique is really muscular. I think she was always that muscular when she was a human once. But anyways, yeah, this is before she was a human. She was extremely muscular. But I think what happened and why Laguna had to stop Sorceress Adel, besides trying to get Alone's body, even before that, I have a theory that Sorceress Adel was sacrificing human beings. Of course, they couldn't put that in the game. She was sacrificing live human beings from East Star City, which is why why Sorceress Adel looks like it is. Because all the other sorceresses didn't use as much black magic as Sorceress Adel did. Because all the other sorceresses have only yellow eyes, meaning they only practice a little bit. Even Ultimecia, the strongest of all the sorcerers that possess all the sorceresses in the past. Because I've looked into this, there's actually no other race in Final Fantasy VIII that looks like Sorceress Adel. There's no specific race for her, even though she's like one of the first transgender characters in the Final Fantasy VIII in Final Fantasy series. I think she was once a human being, but gave so much into the dark arts and practices all the black, dark, magical arts that it ended up turning her into something like more demonic, more evil and sinister. Also she's also like 9 feet tall and has kind of the burly, muscular physique. Unnatural stuff. Because if you practice unnatural stuff, like if you practice dark magic, the dark side, or do drugs, it's unnatural. Because of unnatural, with its unnatural uses and stuff like that, it would alter your appearance to look 10 times more scarier and 10 times more demonicer than, normal. So, yes. And not only that, makes Sorceress Adel pure evil. Like, when you see Sorceress Adel, her eyes glow completely red when she's coming from the moon. Because of all the dark magic she's used before Laguna stopped her and sent her to the moon. Hence why, when Sorceress Adel came out, the first thing Sorceress Adel wanted was revenge. Even though, yes, she was possessed by Ultimecia, but still wanted to get revenge for what happened to her all those years ago. Because Sorceress Adel, if you already knew, used to rule East Star City with the Iron Fist. And I believe when she used to rule the East Star City, that's the futuristic city that Laguna's president of currently, in the current year of Final Fantasy VIII. I think that's when she took people and sacrificed them for darker magic. Because my theory is what Sorceress Adel was trying to do was create some way to be immortal, to have immortality. But to do that is unnatural, so that's why she looks the way she does. 9 feet tall, pale skin, and it's just pure evil. I would have to say she's even more pure evil than Ultimecia is. Because with Ultimecia just wanted revenge for everything that happened to her, as a sorceress. Even though, yes, ultimately she has the power to possess Adel anytime, of course, if Adel is alive. But she, with the abilities that a sorceress Adel gains, she can absorb other sorceresses in her, or anybody that has, like she did with Renoa, that was a hard boss fight because you had to avoid killing Renoa because she could suck the energy out of it. But also, I think because after Sorceress Adel died, I think some of that energy went inside Renoa. So now Renoa is another sorceress after Adel dies. And with Adel's death, Renoa takes her place as kind of the sorceress, except, well, Renoa's a good guy still. But the point is, I think there was one time where Sorceress Adel used to be human, but again, used tons of dark magic and using lots of sacrifices to become immortal. And this is only a theory video. That's why she looks the way it is. She's even 10 times stronger. But, I think she's even 10 times more eviler than Ultimecia was. Because Ultimecia didn't give that much into power, like with sorcery. Like, for Ultimecia, it was just revenge. It was just revenge of everything that happened to her past. Adel was sinister. She wanted to have immortality, so she killed a whole bunch of people to gain immortality in the most unnatural, raw ways ever. That also is the reason why Laguna had to stop her and send her to the moon and seal her up because she was way too powerful. Laguna's team couldn't finish it, so it had to take the future seed, Squall, and your team to face Adel and defeat her once and for all. Which is really sad because Sorceress Adel never gained immortality or any extra. I mean, she gained a lot of power, but not immortality. She ended up dying at the hands of Squall and Seed. And thus, East Star City was saved, and well, since she's destroyed and can't come back, there's no threat of her, because sending her to the moon was kind of a bad idea, because, well, Cypher got involved in this plan to release Sorceress Adel. But anyways, yes, Sorceress Adel was, in fact, human. But what happened was she used too much of the dark magic, the evil, pure dark magic. Like, yes, Final Fantasy has a share of magic, like the regular fire, thunder. I think Sorceress Adel took it so far that, she wanted to stay, immortal forever. Like, that's... So, her goals was 10 times more sinister than Ultimecia's. I think she's the most evil sorceress because she's willing to do anything to get immortality, even if it's unnatural. She played so much into the dark arts because Sorceress Edea and Sorceress Ultimecia, they only have the yellow eyes. I mean, they only used a little bit of the darkness. They only used a little bit of the dark side, the super dark magic. Sorceress Adel used tons of it. And it didn't really help her because she lost. So yes, Sorceress Adel used to be human, but then using lots of dark magic, like the higher end of dark magic, it turned her into what she is, a pale-skinned, demonic-looking, monster that scared the shit out of us and probably created childhood nightmares when she came out of the moon. So yes, Sorceress Adel was originally human, and and to back this up, there is actually no race that Adel comes from. There's only a few races in Final Fantasy VIII, like the lion. I forgot what the lions are called, but the small little lion creatures, the Shroomish, which was Master Norg. Then humans, then monsters, then summons. Because you have to look at Final Fantasy in a Star Wars perspective, because that's pretty much what Final Fantasy based its, stuff off of. So there is no other race for Sorceress Adel. Sorceress Adel didn't always look the way she did. She ended up looking that way because she used too much evil. So yes, Sorceress Adel used to be human.